Spirit Sports Consultants presents
Understanding the NFL betting line for 2023. I think you'd agree that it's difficult to make good wagers if you don't understand what a good line is. So we'll talk about that here. But before we continue, we remind you to please subscribe to our channel. We know there are a lot of channels like this, but for us, we provide weekly NFL picks, highlights, sports travel, and also some wagering analysis such as in this video here. Remember that sportsbooks set a betting line with the idea to get an equal amount bet on each side. This is not a prediction, because they profit off 10% commission from all losing bets. They're not predicting it. They want to balance out the money on the favorite and the underdog. And what you can do is spot line mistakes and profit from it. First off, we're going to see the averages, and all they do to take these numbers is look at scoring average for offense and defense. Second is subjective factor, it's perception, team record, and the recent performance. And finally, perception insofar as how the team might appeal to public bettors. So record comes into play. In fact, record is something we look at to go contrarian, looking for teams that aren't as good as their record. And then also home field. Sometimes home field advantage can be inflated, such as short road underdogs such as Atlanta, Carolina, Green Bay, Chicago, really close. Next, let's look at a playoff matchup between Miami and Kansas City. Show how that line is created and then where you can find some betting opportunity like we did, knowing that the line was a little bit inaccurate. Miami at Kansas City. Miami has an average of 31 points per game. That goes up against a Kansas City defensive average of what they allow, which is 18. So you take the average of that, a real complicated formula, and note the sarcasm, that gives you 24, 24.5 technically, but we're going to round down because they are the road team. So we've got Miami's forecasted score 24 points. Let's do the same for Kansas City. Chiefs 22, average scored per game. Dolphins very close, average allowed 21. And then we're going to look at the forecast based on that. If you can't take the average from that, you're in trouble. It's going to be 22 points a game. We'll round up, being that it's the home team. So we've got now is a base score of 24-22 Dolphins. Now let's factor in home field. In our system, home field varies from anywhere from 2 to up to 6 points. We're going to go to the middle here and give KC 4. So looking at the home field, you're going to factor it in. 4 points gives you a 26-24 edge for the Chiefs. So sure enough, with home field and the base forecast combined, you come up with the opening line, opening difference of Chiefs by 2. What's the line? Sure enough, it's KC minus 1.5. You'll see that move quickly after that, but that was the opening line. Let's see where there's some adjustments. So because the betting odds are based on full season averages, many occasions there are numbers that aren't quite accurate. Maybe a team was great early and not so good lately. Well, you're still going to look at an average inflated by earlier success. Great example here is the Miami Dolphins. Earlier in the season, they had a 70-20 win over the Broncos, and that totally inflated their average scored numbers because in that game, it was a lot of garbage time. They really didn't earn 70 points. It was just one of those runaway games, and now their average is inflated by about 2 points. Well, those 2 points creates at least a 1 point difference in the formula. That's another advantage we have on the Chiefs side. So now we have Chiefs by about 3.5. The second factor we like was looking at the home field advantage. As we stated, we factored in 4 points. That's the base formula. Somewhere 3 to 4. We thought Kansas City deserved more 5 to 6 point edge because of the cold weather and the snow in the forecast. Indoor, warm weather teams cannot play in snow. That gives us another 2 points. That takes us up to Kansas City by 6. We locked in the Kansas City minus 2.5. Line moved all the way up to 5. We then took another position, Kansas City money line, hedge off the 2.5. So we felt good and won on both, obviously. Now let's look at an example from earlier in the 2023 season, the Lions hosting the Raiders. Show you the formula that's used and how closely that comes up to the line. We're going to start out with the line. The line is Detroit being favored by 8. And we know what the formula is because we've interviewed oddsmakers out in Vegas. Here it is. The road forecast equals road scored plus home allowed divided by 2, the average therein. The Raiders average 16, Lions average allowed 22. The average of that is 19 points. So that's what we're going to give the Raiders for this game, 19. Now let's look at the Leos, see how they've got. They got 25 points a game scored, going against the Raiders 23. Well, you can look at that. It's a pretty easy average of 24, right? We'll do it the long way. 25 plus 23, 48 divided by 2, that's 24. So we're going to set the Lions with a score, projected score of 24 points base. So I use the term base because we're not quite done. We've got to factor in the home field edge that Vegas gives the home team, and that does range from 2 to 4 points. In this case, we'll split the difference to give the Lions a 3-point home edge. We think it could be a little higher. Gives them a final score of 27. So with a projected final of 27-19, what does Vegas set the opening line to be? That's Lions minus 8, based on the forecast of what they think the final is going to be. They would adjust it based on money and percentage of bets. As with our previous example with the Dolphins, let's look at what might affect that line and make it inaccurate. In this case, the Lions had just been killed by the Ravens in a bad weather game at Baltimore where the wind was gusting up to 30 miles an hour and Jared Goff couldn't complete a ball. Final score was 38-6. That really threw off the averages. We felt like in looking at that game, taking it out, looking at the median stat, we thought the line should be Detroit minus 10. With all that factored in, we thought that should be 2 points higher, so we really liked the lines in that game. Sure enough, they ended up winning that game 26-14 with a margin of 12. So the lesson here is to define your own betting odds, define your own lines, and then when you see something come out, take advantage of it.
That's all for this time. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to sharing our future videos with you.